guys, welcome back to Grace's room. So I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but I actually recently got a haircut. I got a lot of it taken off. I hope you guys like it. So back onto the main subject. A lot of you guys know that I really like makeup, and I've probably been like it since I was like 10 years old or something. And I use a lot of drugstore brands like Maybelline, Rimmel, L'Oreal, stuff like that. And now I've been using a lot more nicer brands or high-end kind of brands like NARS, Fenty Beauty, and Tarte. And I've actually been using a lot of like drugstore brands still to this day, and like they're like really good products. Like this foundation's really good as well. And so I basically wanted to do a full face testing high-end makeup versus the drugstore makeup. So I'm going to be doing half of my face using the luxury makeup and the other half using the drugstore makeup. So I'm really hoping that the drugstore products turn out being really good, because like I'm sure it'd be a lot easier for you guys as well, knowing that you don't have to go to Sephora every single time and spend a lot of money on like a product when you can just get it from like the supermarket or something like that. So I guess we'll get started. I don't want to talk too much. So firstly, I'm going to be doing primer. I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Hydrating Face Primer on this side, and then I'm going to be using the Too Faced Hangover Primer, which is also a hydrating primer. I actually have really oily skin, so hydrating primer, I probably don't use it a lot, but I still like using them. So I'm going to put it on this side of my face. Hopefully it's not too oily. Looks a bit like jelly. Okay, I'm going to put it on my face. Okay, so I finished putting it on, and I mean, it feels like really soft on my skin. The only thing I'll say, it is a little bit oily. It sort of feels like, yeah, it's like a little bit oily, so hopefully it's not going to be too much of a problem. But I guess we'll just have to see how the foundation performs on it to see how it actually turns out. I'm going to be using this Too Faced one now. That was really bad. Okay, so I finished rubbing that in, and this one feels a lot softer. It doesn't feel like as oily. I kind of feel like it feels a little bit just like softer. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind the e.l.f. one. Yeah, just like I said, it just kind of felt a little bit oily. I just want to quickly put out there that I pretty much like all the products that I'm going to be using on like the high end side. And basically what I'm going to be doing is just comparing the two, so I'm not really going to be judging them too much. I just want to see if they're like similar, because I pretty much like most of the products that I'm going to be using today. Yeah, like I said, I just want to compare them. Okay, so onto foundation. I'm going to be using the Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation. I remember like reading a lot of really good reviews about this foundation, and so I really want to try it. I think I've used it like twice, and I think I remember liking it. So I'm going to be comparing this to the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation in the, oh, I forgot to say the shade. This is 235 Pure Beige, and then this is the shade 260. So I'm going to be putting it onto a little platter, just because this one isn't a pump. Okay, I don't want to pour too much on. It's very liquidy, isn't it? Oh, I think I did a little bit too much. I always pour too much on. Okay. And I might do the same with the Fenty. Alright, so let's put it on. I'm going to get my sponge and put it on my face. Okay, so I finished blending out the foundation on this side, and I really like the finish of this. I like that also it's pretty like full coverage. Like I literally only did like two dips onto like my platter, and I was able to cover up like half my face, so that's pretty good. I'm going to be using the Fenty one now to do the other side of my face. This foundation oxidizes a little bit, so I'm hoping it's going to be okay on my skin. I mean, obviously I've used it before, but I have noticed that it did oxidize, but I kind of fixed it with concealer, so hopefully it's going to be okay. This foundation here actually has pretty good coverage as well. Like that was literally one dip, and I covered like pretty much my entire face. So that's really good. Okay, so I think I've finished blending this foundation in as well. What I usually like to do with foundation is I like to use like a buffer brush just to buff the foundation and kind of make it look a little bit more skin-like. I'm going to quickly do that now before it dries too much. I'm actually going to be comparing brushes as well. So a lot of these brushes are from the brands OXX, Elf, and this one from Flawless Beauty, and I'm going to be comparing those to my Zoeva brushes. So I'm going to quickly buff this a little bit. Okay, so I finished buffing that out. This brush is really nice. It's very soft as well. I really like this brush. And I mean, it looks really nice on my skin. I mean, I actually always have trouble with foundations. They always end up looking really cakey on my face. So I'm actually really happy with this one. Sometimes this one does look a little bit cakey. I'm not sure if you can tell. It is a little bit cake. It kind of just looks a little bit thick on my skin, but I'm sure I'll be okay once I put everything else on. Alright, so onto concealer. I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade 10 Fair, and then I'm going to be comparing this to the famous Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Light Neutral. So obviously these two are lighter shades of my skin tone, just because for like highlighting and stuff like that. This one is actually probably a little bit too light. They didn't have a huge shade range there, so that's why it's a little bit light, but hopefully it'll be okay. This kind of seems like really thin, like it doesn't, I don't know how to describe it, just like feels like really thin, like not very like thick like the concealer on my face. I've never tried this before. So it actually has like a smaller sort of like applicator as well, whereas the Tarte Shape Tape has a much bigger applicator, but I don't really care about that. It's just more how it performs on the skin. Okay, let's blend it. Okay, so I finished blending the concealer on this side, and it looks so good so far. So far, so good. I don't know what I'm saying. Now let's do the Shape Tape. As you guys can literally see, like this one is just like such a much like thicker formula consistency, and I know this one's really full coverage. And yeah, I mean, I'll just quickly blend this out and we'll see how we go. Okay, so like I said before, the Tarte Shape Tape is definitely a lot more full coverage on the skin. Like I can notice it a lot more than the Fit Me. I mean, the Fit Me one did look okay, but if you want like more of a thicker consistency and like something a little bit more full coverage, then I'd definitely go for the Shape Tape. Whereas yeah, like I said, this one's just not really as full coverage. I mean, for me, like that's fine. I don't really like too full coverage of like a concealer, but some of you might like more full coverage ones. So then in that case, then the Shape Tape was probably a little bit better. Okay, so onto setting powder. I don't really bake because even though I have oily skin, it makes me look really cakey. So I just usually like to get either a loose powder or one like this and just wipe it underneath my eyes and wherever I put concealer. So this is the Stay Matte from Rimmel London pressed powder, and then I'm going to be comparing this to the Fenty Beauty in Universal blotting powder. This isn't actually a setting powder. I don't think it is a blotting powder, but yeah, I think you can still use it as a setting powder. Okay, stop talking, Grace. I don't really want to put a little bit, like too much powder on, just in case, because I don't really want to look too cakey. But yeah, I mean, like this looks nice. It smells really good as well. Like it smells so good, I love it. I've actually only used this on a friend. I haven't actually used it on my face before. That's why it kind of looks like it's been used. And yeah, I mean, it looks okay. I don't really know how to tell whether a setting powder is good or not, because I mean, it looks like it's doing something. I think probably need to wear it throughout the day to see how it does look, but yeah. Okay, I'm going to be doing the other side now, the Fenty Beauty. So, put it on. my foundation in the mirror, and it kind of looks like, oh, not my foundation, my concealer, and it sort of looks like it's like been wiped away here. Like I can like see my pores. I'm not sure, that could have been the concealer, and when I like blended it, like it could have wiped away a little bit, but it looks really strange here. Like it's sort of like separated a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on there. It could have also been my fault when I did the buffing, like maybe it dried and I wiped it away, but I'm gonna use a little bit of concealer and just reset that because it doesn't look very pretty. Okay, take two. Okay, so that looks a lot better. I have an eyelash there. What's happening there? Okay, would you go away? Sorry. So yeah, I mean that looks a lot better now. I'm not sure what happened there, but I must have accidentally wiped it or something like that. So yeah. Okay, so now that I've set my face and everything, I'm going to be doing bronzer. I don't contour because every time I try to, it ends up looking like a mess, and like I've rubbed dirt across my face, so I feel like bronzing is a little bit more subtle and I prefer to do that. My nails are ruined. These are actually my nails. These are these stick-on ones. They're from the brand Impress. I love them, but they don't sell them at Priceline anymore, which is like a pharmacy here in Australia, so that's sad. That's sad. Okay, oh, I was just literally about to start bronzing. I forgot to tell you guys. I'm going to be using the Maybelline City Bronzer, and then I'm going to be comparing this to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Powder Bronzer. This is in the shade Rich Amber, and this is in the shade Deep Cool 300. Okay, so now I'll start bronzing. A lot of these products I kind of feel like are from Maybelline. I really do like their brand. I feel like I probably get the most drugstore products from there. They're really good, I feel like. Whoa. Whoopsies. Okay, that needs a little bit of blending. Guys, what did I just do? Oh no. I need to blend that ASAP. Can I also just say, I forgot to say, this brush is so cool. I mean, like, it seems like it's working at the moment, but like, I'm literally just gonna keep it because like, how cool is that? That's so good. Okay, I might have to buff this out just a little bit because this angled brush is just a little bit small. Okay, so I think after all that, I think I've finished now. I mean, it looks pretty good on my face. I mean, like, it blended really nicely, so I really like that. So yeah, I'm gonna do the other side now using this bronzer. So let's do it. Okay. Okay, so I finished buffing this out, and I mean, it looks really good. I sort of feel like the Anastasia bronzer was a lot more cool toned rather than the City bronzer, but they both blended out really nicely. I was really happy with the Maybelline one actually, so that's good. I'm liking everything so far, except the concealer is a little bit, okay. Now I'm going to be doing blush. So I have this palette from CoverGirl. It is a face palette, so it's got a bronzer and highlighter, but I'm just gonna be using the blush out of it. It's a really pretty coral shade, and it actually has like a little bit of a shine to it. I don't usually use coral shades, but this one looks pretty, so hopefully it'll be okay. I'm gonna be comparing this to the NARS face palette. I'm gonna be using the blush out of it. It also has a bit of a shine to it, so as soon as I got this, it reminded me of that NARS blush. Okay, so I'm going to hope this turns out well and I don't look like a clown. Because that's what usually happens when I use blush. Okay. Alright, so I think I finished blending that out and it looks nice and subtle. I mean, it was very pigmented. I had to blend that because I looked like a clown. But now I'm going to be using this blush. Where's my brush gone? Okay. And let's see how it goes. Okay, so I finished using the blush on this side. I feel like a lot of the sides I'm using for the luxury are a lot more cool toned than the drugstore side, because like I feel like that blush is very warm toned and this one's like a very bright sort of pink. So anyway, let's keep on going. Now it is time for highlighter. Definitely one of my favorite parts. I'm going to quickly set my face though, because I kind of feel like it gives the highlighter a little pigmentation. Then before you set it, so oh yeah, I also forgot to say I'm not using a drugstore setting spray. I couldn't find one, so I'm going to be using the Urban Decay All Nighter. Okay, let that dry. Okay, let's do highlighter. So this is the e.l.f. highlighter. It is in the shade Moonlight Pearls. It actually looks really pretty. It kind of reminds me of the Becca Opal highlighter, but I don't have that highlighter, so I'm going to be comparing it to the Becca Champagne Pop. And they are kind of similar, although this one's probably a little bit more gold toned than this one, but I'm sure they'll both look okay once they're on. I couldn't actually find a highlighting brush at the store, so I'm going to be using this e.l.f. eyeshadow brush, and I'm sure it's going to work, and I'm sure it will work pretty similar. Okay. Okay, so I think that's enough for the highlighter. I do feel like, oh, I forgot to do my brow bone. I do feel like this one is definitely a lot more sheer. It like took me a few swipes to get a nice highlight, and I don't usually like a really blinding highlight. Kind of like a semi sort of highlight is good for me, but it was a little bit sheer, but in the end it was okay. I mean, it had to build it up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm actually not going to be using a Zoeva brush for my highlighter. I really love this Jeffree Star highlighting brush. It is the JS4 brush, and I mean, I love like this handle as well. Like, how cool is it? Anyway, let's put it on. I already have, I mean, I honestly don't think I really need highlighter because my oils are pretty much my highlighter. So, I don't really like to go too heavy with the highlighter because otherwise I'm going to look a bit too oily. With just like one swipe, I got so much pigment out of like that Becca highlighter, and that's really what I like. So Becca highlighters are definitely like my favorite. Okay, so now that I've done that, I am going to be doing eyeshadow. So I am going to be using the L'Oreal La Palette Nude Rose Palette. And when I got this, I couldn't actually, so it looks a little bit messy because I was swatching it before, but when I got this palette, it came in like a cardboard packaging, and I couldn't actually see what the shades were inside, but I saw the word rose, and I was like, oh, I love rose colors, so I got it. And this personally to me does not look rose. They have a lot of purple shades in here and like a few like neutral sort of shades, and honestly there's like 3 semi rose shades. So I think if you're gonna call the palette rose, just make sure it's definitely called rose, then I kind of prefer if there were actually rose shades in here. So yeah, it actually has a little accent on the E. Is it pronounced rosé? I'm not sure. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. But yeah, I just kind of, firstly I would have wished I could actually see what the colors were inside, so I knew what palette I was getting, but oh well. So it doesn't really look like there's a lot of matte shades in here, but I'm going to be comparing this to the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and I love this palette. It smells amazing, and it was probably the most similar thing I could find. I mean, like there's some of the same purples in there. But yeah, hopefully this will turn out well. Let's get started. Firstly, I'm going to prime my eyelids using concealer. Okay, so I'm going to prime the other eyelid later when I'm doing that eye. So I'm going to take out my eyeshadow brushes. I have one from e.l.f. and 2 from the OXX brand. Where did the other one go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So here they are. Hopefully I will get a nice eyeshadow look out of this. There's, like I said, there's not really a huge amount of matte shades in this. Like most of them look pretty shimmery, so hopefully I'll be able to create a nice look. I might go on with this first to do a transition shade. Let's hope this turns out okay. Well, that was very powdery. There's a lot of kickback with that shade. I'll have to see how the other ones look. Okay, so I've been blending this for a little bit. First of all, do not mind the shape of my eyeshadow. I'm actually not really good at like shaping eyeshadow, so I'm sorry if it looks a little bit strange and I'm really not sure what I've done there. But I've been trying to mix these two shades together to try and get some sort of thing. I'm having a little bit of a hard time blending them. They're a little bit stubborn, but yeah, I'm not too sure. So I am going to go in with this e.l.f. brush and this darker shade, this grey shade and this darker shade, and maybe I'll be able to make my crease a little bit darker. So yeah, hopefully it turns out okay. Okay, so I have been blending that for a little bit, and I mean, it looks okay. I'm not too sure. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, there's just a lot of kickback in this pan. Like there's just lots of powder all over, and like on my desk there's a lot of powder. Like when I'm putting the eyeshadow on, there's just like powder flying. I accidentally got a little bit of grey eyeshadow there, so hopefully I can fix that. But now what I think I'm going to do, because that's literally all the matte shades in there, like I can't find anything else besides this purple one, but I don't really have any use for that. So I really want to try this dark purple on this side here. It definitely looks like a shimmer shade. Sort of looks like a bit metallic. It's not like any foil metallic shade, it's more like just a powder. So I'm going to be using this flat brush here to put it on. I'm going to use a tad bit of setting spray because apparently it might help bring some of the pigment in the shimmer out. So hopefully if I do that it will look a little bit better, but yes, let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to dip into that pan there and put it on my eye. Okay, so I'm putting this shade on and it does not look shimmery. Like, I swear, this looks shimmery in the pan here, but it's pretty much looking like a matte shade on my eye. So maybe I might be able to blend it because this does not look shimmery at all. You'd have to get up really close to see like the little sparkles or the holographic look in it because this does not look shimmery. Well, I mean, the eyeshadow is definitely there. I'm going to try blend it a little bit into my eyeshadow and see how that goes. There is a lot of fallout. Like, I'm not sure if you can see here, but it looks so dark under there. Oh, I wonder if I can try wipe it away because that does not look good at all. And this is why sometimes I do my eyeshadow before I do my full face because I end up getting a bit of fallout. But yes, I'm not loving this palette at the moment. I'm gonna try and go into this really light shimmer shade over here, and I'm gonna put that in my inner corner, and maybe, hopefully, it will look good. That's probably like the best shade I've tried so far, honestly. I can actually see the shimmer in it and it looks decent on my eye. Okay, so it looks really patchy up close. I'm not sure if you guys can notice, but it looks quite patchy and I think that's honestly the best I'm going to be able to do with this. So yeah, okay, I guess I'm gonna go into the other eye now. I was not really loving that palette, but yeah. I already know I love this palette, so I'm sure I'll be able to get a good look out of this one. I just dropped the palette in the foundation. Oh my gosh, I am so clumsy. Okay, let's try to do that again. And I also forgot to prime my eyelids. Oh no, it fell in the pressed powder and it's all dented now. Oh my goodness grace. I dropped my brush. Okay, so I think I finished doing this eye and I'm honestly loving how it looks. It looks so good and the shape's probably much better than this one. And all the shades blended really nicely. What is this hair doing? All the shades blended really nicely and I'm actually really happy with this eyeshadow look. Compared to this one though, I think this one looks a lot better. So now what I'm going to be doing is mascara. So I have this Total Temptation mascara from Maybelline, and this is actually, I didn't actually buy this one like recently. This is one that I actually recommend. It is such a good mascara. I really like the applicator. But yeah, it's like, I really like having long and thick lashes, and this is actually so good for that. Like, I honestly love this mascara. I think I've already been through like one bottle. Like, I love this mascara. So I'm gonna quickly put this on. Okay, so I finished putting this mascara on and I actually got a little bit on my lid, but that's okay. I'm gonna be comparing this to the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes mascara, and I already like this mascara as well. It's really good. The applicator is a little bit thinner, but it makes my lashes look really thick and like defined, so I love this mascara as well. Okay, so I finished putting this mascara on as well. I mean, out of these two mascaras, honestly, I would prefer the Lights Camera Lashes mascara just because I kind of feel like it makes my lashes look like thicker, whereas this one sometimes it can clump them up, so that's why I like to go through them with just this little tester thing, mascara, applicator, whatever you call it. But yeah, I mean, I still really like the mascara, but it just personally, my preference would be that one. Okay, so I guess that leaves me just to do my, where's it gone? My lipstick. So I need to go get my lipsticks because I just realized I left them on the bench, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back with my two lipsticks. I forgot them, I'm really sorry about that. So I'm going to be comparing these two lipsticks. They're pretty much the exact same shade. This is the Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink liquid lipstick. And I've got a bit of mascara on it. I've actually really wanted to try this because it looks really good and I've heard really good reviews about it. And then I'm going to be comparing this to the Kylie Jenner Velvet Lipstick in the shade Candy K. Or this is in the shade 65 Seductress. I can't say that. Seductress. Okay, anyway. So I'm going to put this on. This smells so good. It smells like vanilla or like a cookies and cream sort of thing. That smells really nice. Okay, let's put it on. Okay, so I finished putting on these two lipsticks. Already I'm going to say this one feels a little bit tacky compared to the Kylie Jenner one. But honestly, they both look the same. They feel nice on the lips already. I probably need to do like a bit of a wear test with them. Like all this I kind of feel like I need to wear for a little bit, but for now, okay, this hair is really annoying me. But okay, as I was saying, for now, everything looks pretty good besides that eye. These hairs are really annoying me. Okay, they're just gonna have to pop out whatever they want to do. Okay, so I pretty much liked everything. Like out of like everything, and pretty much liked everything. This palette I did not like. I really wanted to like it because like it's a really good travel size as well, but I just didn't like it, honestly. I just don't really feel like it blended that well, and it just looked really patchy and it had a lot of kickback, so I wasn't a huge fan. I don't really like how you couldn't see the shades as well in the palette, but yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that eyeshadow palette. The concealer was okay. I mean, I know before I'm pretty sure I said that I don't really like a full coverage concealer, but I actually don't mind a full coverage concealer. I don't know why I said that, but I can't remember if I did say that. Okay, anyway, but yeah, I don't know, I didn't really like this one too much. I mean, it did its job, I guess. It doesn't really look like it's creasing, but I kind of felt like it sort of almost like wiped my foundation with it. So yeah, I mean, I think the primer looks okay. I mean, like, it made my foundation look good, so yeah. I have to say my favorite thing was probably this foundation, or obviously this mascara. I forgot to set my face. I'm so forgetful today. And then my favorite brush is probably this one. I mean, for like the actual like brush, I think I liked this blending brush. It was very soft and it worked really well, but like this one's really cool. Okay, so well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this gave you a few options of like some drugstore brands and stuff that you can try. You don't have to like always go to Sephora to get like good makeup. I mean, obviously all the makeup that I used on the high-end side was really good. I feel like this foundation, personally for me, it looks a bit cakey on my skin, but it might not for some of you, so yeah. I mean, all the products on like the high-end side I really like, so yeah, it was just besides those two products, I pretty much liked everything today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, hopefully this was helpful to some of you, and I'll see you next time on Grace's Room. Bye for now.